still just the 9 teams, and it's going to really heat up. So this, of course, has been the case for some time, Joey, but things getting very interesting at the top with the Magpies slipping up to Brisbane at the weekend.
Yeah, I think we did find out some answers this weekend. I think we saw some movement. I think Adelaide's win was crucial. And you look now, I think they've almost secured a top 2 spot. I think there's every chance that they'll get at least one, probably 2 finals at home at the Adelaide Oval. So that sets them up in great shape. We'll touch on Collingwood in a moment and what that loss looks like. Fremantle, as you said, they just had to find a way to win that game. We've said for a number of weeks that the team that might miss the top 8 is the team that slips up to in a game that they shouldn't. And that was almost the case for the Dockers. Gold Coast, we know, have got that game in hand. So that's the Essendon game. You can almost put them at 56 points, and they are still knocking on the door of a top 4 spot. Don't worry about that. And obviously, Hawthorn and Giants losing leaves them vulnerable. Obviously, the Giants have got the easier of the 2 runs. Hawthorn have got 2 games where they'll start as underdogs. Giants 2 as favourites. And the Western Bulldogs, if they run the table, absolutely can still play finals.
So since round 14, the top 9 have played the bottom 9 35 times. It's 34-1.
Wow.
Fremantle lost to Sydney, and that is it in round 17. So don't expect these guys to have any slip-ups on the way home.
Not now.
None of them.
Your glass half full or empty on the Dockers after that? They're in 5th.
Yeah, well, it's the same. It's the same discussion every week. They've got a tough run. They've got to beat Brisbane, then they've got to come to Marvel and get the Dogs to absolutely guarantee it with one of those.
And the Saints today winners over North Melbourne. Let's flip the page because they are in 14th, Joey, and Carlton are brave in that first half today.
Well, this is the old adage with the bottom half of the ladder this time of the season. Do you want to be going up that bottom half of the ladder, or do you want to be going down and getting earlier picks? I mean, it's always a debate. St Kilda...
You're calling for the tank, Joey?
Well, no, I'm not calling for the tank, but when you're looking at it as optimistic fans for next season, because all these teams are doing now is looking to 2026 and beyond, do you want the high draft pick, or do you want to continue to build a culture of winning games? You've got a bit of a mixed result there, but it speaks for itself.
I don't know how those teams, particularly in the bottom 5, find a way out of there. I mean, no one's picking any of those teams to finish in the 8 next year. Would you be brave enough to pick any of those teams?
No,
you're not. You can't.
Not at all.
No. So even Carlton, to be honest.
I think Swanee's got a real challenge on his hands to fix this, to get this sorted, because it's the most uncompetitive I've seen. 34-1 for 6 rounds of footy. It's no good.
St Kilda praying to everyone that Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira stays after his performance today. A second straight blinder. Now in our 4th seg tonight, Maxie Lawton, who's our mastermind, has crunched the results, all the fixture, and we're going to give you his predicted 8 after the season is complete. So stay tuned for that. That is coming up in the 4th segment. But Joe, you're going to kick us off tonight. It's your first crack.
Yeah, it is, and it's cause for concern at Collingwood. I think now that not just because they've lost 3 of their last 4 games, that is obvious, but when you take a look at the profile in a moment, I think there are some alarm bells starting to ring. And I know Collingwood internally, and we've heard from Craig McRae, they are optimistic, and that's their right. So they should be. That's Fly, the way that Fly goes about it. And they do have recent history on their side. 2023, the year they won the premiership, they lost 3 out of 4 games, almost at this identical stage of the season. But you've got to remember then, they had to go on and basically pull a rabbit out of a hat, 3 final series in a row, 3 incredible wins by a kick or less to win that premiership. But as he has said himself, it's a different team now. 2 years on, it's a different team. And when you just look at the profile that I speak about and why it is alarming is because for the majority of the season, Collingwood's in between the arcs game, so the midfield stuff hadn't been great profile-wise. It had been mid-table, so their ability to win contests and clearance, their ball movement and their ability to defend ball movement. But what was elite when you look at those numbers? Their efficiency going inside 50 from round 0 to 17 were the second best in the competition, and we know how stingy they were in their D50. They were the best at it and the hardest team to score against. But in the last 4 weeks, that's just been a little bit vulnerable. Now, I know defensively, Jeremy Howe, they can't wait to get him back soon enough, and Billy Frampton have to come back in the team. That'll make a difference, but they haven't been as efficient either at the forward end of the ground. So they had been covering a little bit of some issues with their ball movement and defending ball movement and some of their contest numbers. So that's the first little alarm bell. And then when you look at their offensive potency, and that's dropped away as well. So their ability to score off intercept and their ability to score off clearance also has dropped away. So there's just a little bit there to take a look at. That is an issue. And also some individuals that early in the season were in great form have just dropped away a little bit. And these are some of the names. So a couple of them are forwards, because I just mentioned there with the forward line not quite humming as well as it was. But the midfield too. So Steele Sidebottom still was okay, the 20 disposal, kick 2. But his last 4 or 5 weeks, he's dropped away. Ned Long has become a big concern, and Jack Crisp as well. So I know you want to touch on Nick Dacos a bit later, Kingy, and what he's doing for this team. I think Jordan De Goey, that's a huge inclusion for them because I think he can maybe help tidy up some of this stuff and some of the players that have just dropped away from their early season red-hot form. And to be fair, those guys, particularly Sidebottom and Long, were coming from a pretty high bar, but they've just dropped away. So there is just some concerns and some wobbly facets with Collingwood's game at the moment. But the other thing too, watching the game on Saturday night, was just their predictability now with their ball movement. We've spoken a lot about how predictable they are coming out of defensive 50. And this has been the way they've played a lot of the year. It's long down the line, they point. Kingy, we've spoken about the new speed of ball movement style with the Pies and that, they are prepared to do this and set their defence. But in this last quarter, they got 5 or 6 times in a row, they tried to clear their defensive 50 with the long down the line and it just came straight back at them. And they were getting scored against. And I was looking at the game going, look at the scoreline here, 20 points down. A couple of years ago, remember, Jay, they were throwing this ball into the corridor. They were playing chaos footy. They would take the risk of going, we're going to lose by 5 goals, but we're going to make sure we win it. That wasn't the case in this game. They were playing the same style they've gone with all year. And I just wonder whether they don't have that chaos and that flair in their game when they need to now. They've lost some close ones. They're not coming back from behind at three-quarter time. And this is why it's important. So this ball movement from D50 to inside 50, the last 10 premiers have all been top 6 because when you're playing against the best, you are going to have to start the game from your defensive half because you're playing against another good team. And at the moment, the Pies just aren't getting it done. And in particular, the game against Brisbane, they had 34 opportunities to move the ball from D50 to inside 50. Only 3 times could they get it through Brisbane. That's the third worst performance under Craig McRae. There's still a couple of weeks to fix it. They do have time, but I just think there is some alarm bells. And looking, and we'll get to Max's top predicted ladder later on, there is every chance if Brisbane, Geelong and Gold Coast win out from here, which they'll start favourites in all those games, they could realistically finish 5th. They could have 17 wins and be the unluckiest team to finish outside the top 4 with 17 wins. That's the way it's looking if they don't win if they lose one of the 2 games in the next 2 weeks against Hawthorn and Adelaide, which are massive.
Well, how concerned are you, Kingy, by that?
Well, we've got similar concerns or different concerns about the same team, if you like. You'll get to the Dacos stuff later on. I think there's a heavy reliance on their handball corridor game, getting the game going in flow. So all those things do become more efficient. You go inside forward 50 quicker than what you do the long down the line. But I'm concerned that there's only a couple of strings to their bow at the moment. I think they need to throw the magnets around. I think they need to get Pendlebury back to half back and get some more creativity, some more flair, not with ridiculous risk. So there's a lot of levers he can pull.
Yeah.
So that's one luxury, and he does have a couple of weeks to look at it.
Yep. And he's got some issues. I mean, Dan Houston's one big issue, not going.
So you've gone Colliwobbles. Are you putting a line through them?
No, not yet. Not putting a line through them, but I don't think they're not in my top. They'll be my 4th favourite right now.
Right.
They've gone from being 1 or 2 to now being their fourth in line for me to win the flag.
They loomed as the team to beat, even up until 3 weeks ago. Still significant upside with De Goey and Hill, but that defence at the weekend looked very shaky, didn't it? They need Jeremy Howe back, and that is why they're targeting Jack Silvani.